And spawning in the bottom left-hand side, it is PattyMac.
In the upper right, in the red, the Terran player, it's Paul Dolan. Dolan.
All right. PattyMac saying he wants this victory. Let's see if he can actually go and get it. He hasn't been in the best form of his life, right? Like PattyMac was one of those players that, in my mind, was rising alongside Trigger and Disc, and even before that, perhaps. He's a player that has, to some degree, at his peak, let's say, revolutionized and had ideas that have been meta enough to for other players like of high caliber to respect, right? Like to say this is the PattyMac and you gotta be careful with it. So yeah, especially in PvC, I remember a lot of like Phoenix DT play that he had very well figured out, for example, as looking for an SCV kill. Should get repaired here and will.
Yeah, I mean, he gets it. Oh, worthwhile trade.
Yeah, beautiful job there. I mean, his probe is doomed, right? Like the probe never escapes. So to get an SCV on the way out, beautiful by Mineral walking through. Dolan thinking that his SCV was already safe, but it was not in the safe range yet. Not from this man, PattyMac, who is now proxying as well. Probably a starport.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right? There we go. It's a one-gate Stargate proxy, though, so the value it has to find is maybe a little bit more than it otherwise would. And by the way, you know, not only is this PattyMac who's on one base on the Stargate, Dolan is also staying on one base for a while. It's Barracks Double Gas Factory into the command center, at least we will assume. And this is a build, I mean, this is a TVT build, and in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, it has really entered the TVP meta, and I don't know, I find a lot of joy, right, when we've a build that is matchup specific, right? This build, for example, and then players start to realize that, you know what, this is actually this covers all my bases. This is exactly what I want to do in this other matchup that it wasn't designed for.
Yeah, PattyMac is finally gonna get a scout into the main of Dolan, as Dolan doesn't have, I think, an adept there ready to answer. So, or rather the other way around, right? Like Dolan into PattyMac's base. So now the next adept pops up. The first one crosses the map to see if he can delay the CC. The Oracle, the first one is almost out. And the beautiful thing about the probe harass that PattyMac did earlier is that there are 3 or 4 SCVs that are bruised enough to get 2 shot from the Oracle. So a nice 1-2 combo. He's very likely to be looking for those bruised SCVs or the ones going and building those supply depots. Instead, he goes for the closest one, which is also very reasonable. And actually not enough energy to finish off, or maybe clicks a little bit too fast off of the SCV that was building the Stargate, a target that should have been a priority. A couple of those SCVs very weak, but Dolan has lost 7 of them, and PattyMac is aware of what he's going up against, so he has the option to not drop his Nexus and just be defensive for the time being, or continuing to pile up with the aggression from this point on.
Yeah, I don't know that you break a one-base Terran like this. He has his natural, so whatever. You know, he's stuck in his main base. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't like the idea of just trying to break this even more. I don't know that that's going to work out super well. You can get Cyclones, you can get tanks, you can get bunkers. And so PattyMac is dropping the natural. Again, it is slower than you might otherwise do it. I mean, it's 4 minutes and it's a quarter of the way done.
3 Oracles, I think, are going to have a lot of potential actually to just end the game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You one-shot Marines, you get on top of the Cyclone. If Dolan is not on time on the repair on the Cyclone, you're right. There is just not enough anti-air otherwise.
Yeah, so let's see if PattyMac can find it. Okay, the Cyclone reveals itself. This is go time for the Oracles, as the lock-on has already been spent onto the Adepts. PattyMac sees the opportunity here. This is, I think, going to be enough to cause all the damage that he will ever need and outright kill this one base Terran. In this case, Dolan, not much to do left here, as the Oracles are just basically gonna get to spend all of their energy killing as many SCVs as they possibly physically can.
Yeah, A-workers have gone down. I guess the one saving grace, and it's really a small one here for Dolan, is that, yeah, you know what? He's got a Banshee on the map. Cloak is done, but Phoenix are home, and there's shield batteries here. And remember, there are 2 Oracles. You just gotta recall them home. You drop the Revelations, and that's gonna be that, as an Adept finds his way in the main, but doesn't really get much there. I guess we didn't have recall. We definitely had recall energy, but I guess it's more of the situation that, okay, the shield battery is going to buy enough time that you don't even have to do that. And this truly should end the game. It's 8 workers to 27. The Banshee's dead. what does Dolan expect to get? I mean, he's got double orbital, I guess, but that does not seem like enough.
No, not at all, right? Because PattyMac also, like you were mentioning, did drop his expansion behind this, so he's gonna be able to more than pull ahead economically. He's already 20 workers ahead in an early game where, 20 workers is extra meaningful because your opponent only has 10. So if we look at the income differential, even while mills are running, should favor PattyMac greatly, and it definitely does. So I mean, those mills are about to expire, and that is only that advantage is only gonna skyrocket further. So Dolan knows that he has to make something happen. He's gonna go to the other side of the map with these few units, and I imagine as soon as they get deflected, he will probably have to tap out.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows, Cats? PattyMac could be Tefl, and Dolan could be MVP, and biggest mule comeback we've ever seen. But economy scales a bit differently here in this final expansion. I mean, the Vikings, they're nice.
GG.
Yeah, immediate see the Nexus, the natural. Bye-bye. PattyMac up 1.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, very well done from PattyMac there on the Oracles. Very consistent as well with his probe harassment at the start. So, yeah, very clean game from him, and will sneak one over a Dolan that I think, as a player, very strong mechanically. He is a smart guy, but he is very much, I think, an iterator. He actually, I think, like improves in small increments over time, and I think we've reached a point where Dolan is a threat in the region, where he is consistent and can give basically good games against just about everyone. But I think his weakness remains this sort of opening that throws him off, because that's where, like, a good iterator that's not at the level at which they've seen everything and gotten the time and reps in to know the answers that they want to have against everything is going to struggle, right? Because if you throw him off his game, that's where he'll start falling apart a little bit more, where he can't execute on his very good, clean plans, and the game gets muddy, and that's where he's usually going to trip.
Yeah, it's funny, though. You talked about PattyMac as, this player that maybe was not there yet, but his builds were. And, you had pulling a PattyMac. And I don't know if you were hanging around a lot of the NA or a lot of the Terrans at DreamHack Atlanta, but the same thing was happening with Dolan right there last year, where he was going over the kind of in-depths of the several different Dolan builds that he had. And he had Hero Marine around him, and he had Vindicta, and he had some other players around him. And it's kind of cool, right, to again have these two players who have a very similar story. They've been on the up and up. They have these really tight builds. And maybe they're not there mechanically yet. Maybe they're not there kind of in terms of experience and game sense. But their builds are absolutely killer. So, now, Cats, it begs the second question. Does Dolan have a killer build to take us to Game 3? We're going to find out, because we're already into it. Let's
see it. The map is going to be Dragon Scales. And in the bottom right-hand side, it is, ya boy, Paul Dolan.
And in the upper left, in the blue, his proxy oracles did so much. It's PattyMac.
Yeah, both of these guys I would consider close friends of mine. I've known Dolan since he was like 12 or something. That's when he first joined the Seed Academy. That was the academy for Root Gaming back then. Eventually made it onto the main team, and then he's been on the rise ever since, consistently. He's always stuck around with StarCraft. His dad very much into StarCraft as well, I think, got him into it. And yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's just a very, I think, kind and just good dude. He's just very pleasant to be around. And I think the same can be said for PattyMac. I mean, he is maybe a little bit spicier in terms of personality. Like he's a little bit of an instigator, but always with a smile on his face, always just being funny about things. And yeah, he's a great pleasure to be around as well. So not sure who to cheer for here, other than just a good game. But both of these guys, I just want to iterate, are just awesome.
Yeah, the big difference, of course, is PattyMac is an incredible dancer as well. He tears it up on the dance floor. And
oh yeah, you seen it?
Yeah, I have. I was there.
Yeah. You were there for the karaoke?
I was there for part of the karaoke at the very least. That broke will go down. Yeah, definitely sitting up on the balcony of that the massive diner at Atlanta when he started popping off on the dance floor down below.
To my singing of all things.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Cats, you're an excellent karaoke artist.
I don't even remember what song it was, but Estrella recorded it, so I have the video somewhere. And yeah, PattyMac was just going wild dancing. Him and another friend of mine were my backup dancers there. And he was so funny, just so animated, you know, and so like kind of shameless in the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. But for now, a Reaper into the main base. Probes actually have to get pulled here because the Adept's on the other side. And the problem for PattyMac in this game is much the similar problem that he had last time, where the Adept wants to go cancel a natural command center. Well, there's really not one there. And in fact, he knew that. This is the second Adept showing up. So it's a bit awkward. You know, the Reaper, it's gotten its actually second kill. And, well, I didn't want to do that. The Adept tags the unbuildable bricks. And instead of maybe getting a shot on the Reaper. But this is a game now, Cats, where it seems like at the very least, Dolan is going to be able to attempt whatever his plan was. Game 1, he did not have that option. The proxy Stargate kind of killed him. This time, though, he has at least that opening. The game's going to live past the 4-minute mark.
Yeah, PattyMac will get a little bit of a scout and not end up losing the Adept. Let's see actually exactly what he found out. He did see the Stargate with the React or with Tech Lab researching, so that's good information for him to find out and not lose the Adept. Dolan doing the same thing here with his Reaper. Gonna get as much information as he can gather before going down. And he will also spot the tech building in the Twilight Council.
Yeah, so really great scout there coming out of PattyMac. He knows, for the most part, what his opponent is up to. And Cats, we didn't talk about this because we were talking about how much PattyMac tears it up on the dance floor. This was a 2-gate opener coming out of PattyMac. He got it. It was Gateway, Cybercore, Gateway on top of the Nexus as well. So that is, again, some much earlier production. What do you make of that?
Maybe a little bit of concern and respect for the type of opener that Dolan offered last game, right? Trying to be maybe a little bit safe or trying to apply pressure early, but clearly it didn't pan out too well for PattyMac. So yeah, I mean, maybe not the best economic position, though he is still, he has still managed a 5-worker advantage at this stage. And the very good scout that he had, I think, will mitigate for his slower start economically if he can deflect the Banshee easily, and he has the tools to do so.
It certainly does. He gets a full scout of the main base as well. Toggles the siege mode just to make sure he can see kind of as much as possible. And now, though, there is no stalker in the main. And I don't know that there's an observer here either.
Yeah, no battery either. I think PattyMac might have to recall, but I don't think there's enough recall energy on this Nexus, so might have to recall to the natural instead, taking a lot of probe losses already as the stalkers are looking to reposition. Blink only halfway done. Here comes the next observer as the first one. Was that recalled? I think so.
Yes, it was. It was on the other side. So that, at the very least, is something, but also that's just recall energy, and just in general energy that doesn't exist anymore. So PattyMac, he's stuck back at home. He lost 6 probes, and now we get to see what round 2 of the Dolan nonsense is. And you know what? Aside of this double Banshee opener, it's pretty standard, Cats. 3 barracks, factory, command center, stim assumedly on the way. We have this open tech lab for that, and you know, minute and a half, 2 minutes from now, Dolan looks like he's gonna move out on the map.
Yeah, and he very well should. I mean, and it's gonna be a very difficult push to stop. It would be nice for PattyMac if Dolan offers him the potential to actually clean those Banshees up before they can join with a push. But Dolan, much wiser than that, will actually go and pull back with the Banshees, at least temporarily. The Adepts do disrupt the mining, which is nice because Dolan is ramping up for that upcoming attack, so a little bit less resources to keep his production up and to continue to make a threatening push on the side of Dolan, as now he sees some stalkers moving out, and this will be his opportunity to move into the natural. There is an observer and still stalkers in position, but only one turns around to fire at the Banshees. So poor PattyMac is going to scramble and continue to lose workers here as the observer gets in position again, but the blink has been spent. That means that he has to rely on these next 2 stalkers. Finally, they get rid of one Banshee. The one remaining one is not going to be nearly as threatening, and this push out from PattyMac, which was meant to slow Dolan down and his eventual push, ends up hurting him economically, which makes it all the more difficult for him to fend off the eventual push itself.
Oh, he's so all in right now. At one point he was down 12 workers as the Protoss player. You never want that to happen, but this is a lot of Stalkers here, so let's see if he can make something happen. Adepts, oh, they soak the tank shot, and now there's really not a lot of defense here on the low ground. Yes, there's a tank on the high ground, but Stim is not done. These Marines, they're going to fight the Stalkers by themselves, and while the concave is not perfect, it's pretty damn good. So Cyclones, they get their lock on. Stalkers blinking away as they can. The Cyclone's going to fall down. Banshee gets added in, but it's just going to fall down very quickly, be forced to run away. And that is a fantastic start, but I can't help but feel that it's a good start, but it needs so much more cats.
Yeah, he's going to try to find more in the main here as he will spot the next tank and its positioning. Maybe he can completely avoid that and look for a fight away from it yet again. He will find this corner here where he can blink onto safely. The observer will have to reposition a little bit. Siege up instead to grant that extra vision, and now poking, looking to kind of kill Terran units that are trickling in before the tanks can get sieged. So a good job here from PattyMac to try and stabilize, especially if he can get out without losing any Stalkers, and he does.
Now, I feel like PattyMac maybe could have gotten even more there done. I mean, it did feel like he was on the verge of breaking through, but he brought his Warp Prism back home, cats, because his Storm is 2/3 of the way done here. And step one, kill the tanks. Step one, mess with the army supply of Dolan so he doesn't feel as comfortable stepping out. Step two, apparently, is Storm drops. And we do not see this often. We do not see it for a reason, because it is very committal. And if you do not kill the economy, you may die.
Committal.
And even if you do catch the economy, the follow-up by the Terran may kill you anyways, especially as there's another Banshee on the other side. Oh, it's going to find it. Oh, it's going to find a Templar, but not going to be able to commit to that one super much.
Not super much indeed. And yeah, the Banshee's out of energy as well, so no observer here, no problem. But the Banshee does get onto unpathable terrain, not deep enough. However, and Storm looking to be used on SCVs this time around on the side of PattyMac to even out things economically. But that only means green light for Dolan to kind of just cross the map and try to kill his opponent. Now, Dolan, I mean, he has lost enough SCVs that if PattyMac can hold here, it will be an evenish game, or even in his favor. Dolan might think that he's completely out if he is held back, but without those storms to aid PattyMac, it's difficult to imagine that he will be able to. Let's see if he can pull off a miracle as the Templars continue to gather energy. They'll get scanned. They go in range of the scan. If I'm Dolan, I go before the storms are up, but there is not much of a window anymore.
This is actually so smart. So there's the Warp Prism, right? It's got one High Templar in it. This one has energy for storms. The other ones don't. So I think it might be a bit of a bait here. Now, you still do want the storms, but it's a little bit smart as now. High Templar runs forward. Storm on the army, but it's on a bunch of Marauders. And there we go. Widowmine, actually, second storm doesn't land, but the tanks will fall. And PattyMac holds on to this very well.
Yeah, on the other side, however, it seems like Widow Mines have made it into the mineral lines of PattyMac. So Dolan with excellent multitasking here managed to already kill six probes, and also he's gonna have to juggle around the observer to clear all of this Widow Mines now in 3 different mineral lines is PattyMac. So great job there from Dolan to on the back of you could call it a failed attack, making it work economically still, right? So he still kind of retains this economic lead as a result.
Yeah, certainly. And what a great NA game we have here, right? It was early. It was Banshees that got a lot of damage done, then Stalkers almost break through, and more Storm drops on the other side. 7 workers will hit the deck. This is such a the balls of this man to move out with the Warp Prism that is this low with a High Templar inside, add additional Warp Ins. I mean, hey, it found value. It ended up being worth it. But I mean, imagine you lose the High Templar there. That doesn't feel all that great. You lose in Warp In potential as well. But now Dolan's the one on 33 workers, and PattyMac onto the other side of the map here. 2 Immortals, 5 High Templar, replete with storms. This is becoming. There are no ghosts here, cats.
Oh, yeah, there are 3 on the way. However, so I think Dolan would do good to tuck himself back in and wait for them, as now the first EMPs are here, gonna force the 2 High Templars to morph into Archons. Is this gonna be enough for PattyMac? There's not much medevac energy remaining, but also no units on the Proto side of things, so he will get wiped out on the back of those wonderful EMPs, but at the same time, he has managed to do a lot of economic damage yet again. 13 more workers going down in the main, and Dolan feels forced to actually pull back to answer this. More economic damage on the side of PattyMac, who again, just like Dolan did on the other side with the Widow Mines, uses the main engagement as a distraction to actually do the economic damage on the back end, and PattyMac comes out ahead.
What is this game, cats? I mean, okay, here's how we quantify this game. 39 dead SCVs, 27 dead probes in a 13-minute game. 2 or 3 different storm drops, weird storm flanks, really nice baits by showing the High Templar that did not have energy and then dropping storms onto set anyways. And now Dolan is very all in. He's got 21 SCVs, but he does have Ghosts now. And against Charge Lots and Archons, those are really powerful units.
Yeah, the Widow Mines as well. You have to be very, very careful with your PattyMac. I mean, the medevacs weren't able to contribute too much in the prior engagement, but now they have enough energy to sustain for a little while. However, the same can be said for the shield battery, as these Widow Mines are gonna zone off the army of PattyMac. Luckily for PattyMac, there isn't too much that can actually jump into his natural base expansion. He will be forced to pull the probes to try to mitigate for the forces of Dolan to actually maneuver and kite his army. So it's not so much about the damage output with the probe pool there, it's more about holding the units in place for the Archons to actually do their damage, and successfully so. Dolan is forced to evacuate mostly medevacs now here on the field. He will have to tap out, and Patricio